Onion Cycles podcast is about thought provoking, emotion evoking, action driven, step by step guidance to explore the unique, glorious, and wonderful ocean of your being. Because healing is a multi layered process of getting to know oneself. Become the self empowered empiric researcher by discovering the unique layers of your existence. With your host, Nadine Alma, welcome to the Holistic Healing Hub. Welcome to the Onion Cycles podcast. The fifth is the realm of the flesh, or enslavement to the physical body. This to me is when we're entirely identified with being a body and only a body. It's the power that's later defined as lust. But I think it's important to distinguish something. Lustful people are my favorite humans to encounter. I feel more alive around them. I had a boyfriend who could eat a meal in a way that made me jealous of everything on his plate. He lusted after his food, he lusted after my body in the same passionate way, and it was bliss. Lust, for me at least, isn't the issue. It's our relationship to it. Does it derail us almost entirely from our work, or does it fuel and inspire it? Does it harm the people we love, or does it light them up? For me as a woman, as a survivor, it's a triumph to be lustful, to be present in my body during sex. It's an uncelebrated victory. Where the fifth power can trip us up is when we forget that we are also a soul, not just this passionate body with its fiery needs. And it most explicitly applies to when that lust includes a sacrilegious transgression of forcing our physical needs on someone who does not consent to them. Hello, and a warm welcome, my beloved souls. I'm so happy you tuned in again this week. I'm also quite glad that this episode is published and is available for you out there now because it nearly didn't happen. Welcome to Story 28, Episode 29. We are still in the Being Human series. We are with the power, with the fifth power, the realm of the flesh today. This was an extract read from Mary Magdalene Revealed by Meggan Watterson, which is the foundation for the whole series. The powers of wrath that she describes, or rather Mary Magdalene describes in her gospel, build the base, the blueprint of what it means to be human. And that was exactly why I wanted to start this series. To start off, I want to explain why this episode nearly didn't happen, because I think it quite neatly is woven into this very power that we discuss today, the realm of the flesh. Now, as we just discussed in the extract that I read to you, we identify as only being a body and we forget the soul. So she's not saying that the realm of the flesh or lust in itself is a sin, because we have up to this point already discussed that there really is no sin. It's the balance of all things, and everything with measure has some merit in it. It's also that for most of us, when we come into a state of experiencing life and experiencing what this body especially has to offer, we kind of like need to celebrate that too, because we are so distracted by so much on the external plane of this earth, in this system, that once we return to the body and experience the senses more clearly and experience the body and what pleasure it can give us, what desires it communicates towards us, what pains it make us look closer toward. So the body in itself and being lustful isn't a sin. Absolutely not. And especially from her point of view, Meggan Watterson's point of view, saying that she, as a survivor, claiming back her body and claiming back the experience of feeling lustful and feeling the desire through her body again is a win. Because I never experienced my body as something to be joyful about, to be happy about, to feel comfortable in. And especially after reflecting on my personal relationships and intimate relationships, especially, I can totally relate to what she's talking about, in the sense that having lost, feeling lost, experience lost is also a win, and a huge win to be celebrated as well. Saying that the realm of the flesh per se is something bad, and saying that being present in the body is per se something to shy away from. On the contrary, being present in the body and feeling lustful again sometimes may mean the triumph of a lifetime, the triumph of someone who wasn't able to do it before, but now, after all of those years healing from abuse, they are able to do that again. So it's, in a sense, also playing into last week's episode, where it's sort of like the zest for death. Here we have the zest for life. So it's a yes, it's a I want this, I want to see this, I want to smell this, I want to touch this, I want to experience this. We're also focusing on the other side, which is that we, just as she says, are not just a body, and it's all about balance. So we are going to try and honor our soul while discussing reclaiming the body, and discussing this wrath, this power of wrath, this power, this fifth power, the realm of the flesh. So why did this episode nearly did not come to life is because I had a huge setback, personal setback in my freelance business, and I had to sort of put out all the tools that I talk about on this podcast myself this time around, to just keep going and just to see the merit that comes out of such a setback, and what I can learn from it, and what that can teach me. So I nearly was procrastinating away, not really feeling ready or feeling in any way capable to even record a podcast episode, not even being able to grasp this fifth power myself, because I was so much in my body that I almost forgot the spark within me and the light that I talk all the time about to you guys, right? I say all the time, be brave, shine your light, find your light, trust your light. And then this happened, and it might be coincidental and a really serendipitous moment to know that the episode I need to produce is exactly that, the balance between body and soul, and how easy it is to be drawn and sucked into this life, and forgetting this spark, and forgetting that we all are eternal beings living in a human experience, right? So I totally forgot that this is a human experience, that I'm totally up for it, that I, as challenging as it might be, always want to make the most of it and appreciate the time I have here on this earth. I made this decision to be in this body. I made this decision to stay alive throughout my healing journey several times. So I have quite made the point of not giving up, even though this really was an intense setback that challenged me to the core and to all of my belief systems. I am obviously not through, although I sound like I have worked through it. It's rather fresh, to be quite honest. So I haven't worked through it, but I knew that this is important to me. This podcast is important to me. The things that I have to say someone might need to hear them. And that's also something I repeat all the time in the podcast when I ask you to maybe put a comment of your own experiences below, or maybe just talk about it or share it if you feel like this might help someone else, if you feel like this may be of service to someone else that you know. Because in essence, if we deny our light, if we deny the light to shine through this human body into this realm of the earth and the society we are in, then in essence we might deplete someone else from what they so desperately need to hear for their own growth, for their own challenges, for their own life, right? So that's why I sat down and I made up this episode by sketching out the worksheet. If you're new here, warm welcome. I'm very sorry that this first episode of you diving into the Onion Cycles podcast just goes straight into, yes, I haven't figured it out. I'm on the same path as you are, but in essence, welcome. This is what we're all about. We're talking about being self-empiric researchers. We want to study ourselves, we want to dissect ourselves in order to realize who we are and what is really important to us, what matters to us. We want to rebuild the mosaic that makes up our blueprint, that makes up our personality, our character, and we want to find out which tools work for us, which tools are contributing for us to feel more whole, more wholesome, more calm, more tranquil, more peaceful, more content. So a warm welcome to you. This is authentic honesty right now, and if you are curious, the worksheet is a summary of the episodes, and on it we also have exercises to deep dive into the experience, into the topic we discuss each week. So as always, if you're curious, you can download your free worksheet on www.wonderfinder.org. And now we return to the topic at hand. We are going back to the topic of the fifth power, the realm of the flesh. So, in realizing that this personal setback for me triggered a lot of core issues and core patterns that I thought I had somewhat proven myself to not be true, now resurfaced, and brought me, quite frankly, to my knees. So then I approached this podcast from a very intimate point of view, which is, well, yes, I have disappeared into my body and I have identified as only being a body, and I forgot about my soul. And as such, I was prone to all the other powers that we discussed so far. So I really wanted to give up. I really dove straight in to numb myself and used plant medicine and binge eating and binge watching content to sort of run away from those feelings and this fear of being a failure and this fear of not being able to sustain myself, not being able to provide for my dog and myself, and realize the lifestyle that I want to lead. So, in a sense, I was brought to my knees and fell totally into my body and disregarded that calling from within that, well, you could view it from the other point, and there's always a spectrum. And to be honest, it's not just a spectrum, it's like it's the same thing. If you feel like a failure, you can in the same instant also feel like a winner, because it's the same coin. It's just from where you look at the coin, like what you hold, you don't see, right? So I could also view my whole life and the decisions I made up so far from a totally different standpoint, and I didn't I wasn't able to do that because my thought patterns, my behavioral patterns, my deeply engraved belief systems were so much stronger than my soul, that just was like this little voice within saying, "Hello, now, but could you just like listen to me for a second? Like, just look at your life and look at from that perspective. And could we? And then there was just like this giant self-hate within, and I just didn't even want to listen because I felt it somewhere. Like, if you think I'm crazy, I might be, but actually, I feel like we all have voices in our heads and we all somehow talk to ourselves. So, in that sense, that is what happened to me. Like, somewhere deep within, I heard that voice, and I feel like this voice represented this soul, and this soul that said, look, that's not even a setback, it's an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity to learn. And actually you could feel grateful for it because it put the headlights right onto what was in the shadow, to be integrated, to be looked at, to be felt, to be heard, to be appreciated even, and then transmuted and decided what to be done with it. But I just ran away and I numbed myself. So in a sense, by experiencing this over the past couple of days, I came from a very personal viewpoint point perception onto this fifth power, the realm of the flesh. Because once I sat down and drew out the worksheet, I realized that actually, yes, I was totally lost within my body. I was lost in the human experience. And I also experienced how strong the body is in respect to old behavioral patterns that we have. I didn't need any plant medicine at all for the last 3 years, not one bit, and I didn't even miss it. I didn't think about it. And then I am in some environment that is sort of familiar, and something like that happens, and immediately, because it's present and because my body remembers how soothing and self-regulating this plant medicine worked for us in previous times, I just instantly couldn't even bring up 1 minute of hesitation. Like, I just went straight for this. So in a way, this fifth power, personally, I think also sheds a huge light on how behavioral patterns are ingrained and how difficult it is to sort of transmute them fully. And it reminds me sort of like being a smoker. And then even if you haven't smoked for 30 years, I've met people who said, well, I still, after eating, I still crave that cigarette like mad. Or others saying like, oh, if I have a coffee, oh, I miss the cigarette, the first cigarette with my coffee in the morning. So I feel like something that has been able to soothe us emotionally, soothe us, and also numb us. Like, we don't need to address what we run away from, what emotions come up, what angst or what fear comes up. We just grab that cigarette, and then for years and years and years, this is the way to release stress, this is the way to release anger, this is the way to release maybe even cravings for chocolate or for sugar. And then before we know it, we're so adapt to smoking whenever we have some reactive mindset that we forget how we self-regulated before it. And most of us never even realized that we were never taught to self-regulate because feelings didn't really have a place and didn't weren't nice to have, and sort of were suppressed anyway. Like, you just were supposed to function and to be basically a machine that looks like a human. So in a sense, that fifth power reminds me of this time where being human, being fully present wasn't even a topic to begin with. And then we started grabbing other things to self regulate and self soothe in this life. And then, if we never go further and if we never break out of our comfort zone and sort of ask ourselves why we do this and dive deep into our emotional and spiritual senses, then we're stuck with what only the body can receive, and that is quite limited. Physics point of view, what we can perceive with our human senses is so limited. There are like very good pictures out there that tell us the percentage that we are able to experience in this realm, whereas what an octopus, for example, can experience. So if you want to dive deep into that and do some research for yourself, which is so important, like stay curious, truly stay curious, that will for sure save your life many times, then just go ahead and Google this because it's quite interesting. So I'm not saying that our senses and being human is limiting and is somewhat something bad or is, like the church might say, a sin. What I'm saying is that if we only rely on our body, we might get trapped in old behavioral patterns, in running away from our emotions, from our etheric bodies, from whatever is going on in the ether around us. And we sort of disregard also the magic that we experience that can't really be explained because so much is still in the dark, not having been researched, not having been funded to be researched by our science, right? So the magic of taking a deep breath, on standing on a cliff looking out at the vastness, endless ocean in front of you, or the feeling you get when you think about a friend and then they all of a sudden call you, or the feeling you get when you just lie next to your pet and hear the heartbeat and the breathing, and it gives you goosebumps to realize that there's a person in there, there's a soul in there, there's someone in there with their own personality, their flaws, and also their beautiful, unique, individual traits, right? So in just focusing on this fifth realm where it's all about identifying as only a body and disregarding the soul, I want to also now take a minute to address what honoring our soul means. And I feel like, as I so often repeatedly say in this podcast, is that is something to be learned. There is no shoe fits all. It can't be, because we are all individuals. Yes, in on the grand scheme of things, we are all one. But even if you look at a drop in the ocean, like a drop that has been individualized by the flapping of a dolphin's fin, right? And it's in the air, and in that moment it is separate from the ocean. It's still a part of the ocean, but in that moment it has its own qualities, it has its own temperature, it has its own form. So it reflects the light in a certain way. So if we take that as a metaphor for ourselves, we can see that yes, we are whole, but in that wholeness, the different parts and the different specks are what makes us an individual. So honoring the soul looks different to each and every one of us, and that is why the self-empiric researcher comes in, and why it is so important to be a self-empiric researcher, is because you can't say something works for everyone. There might be a majority who is hooked on it. Like, I remember a time where a doctor came out with a new diet. I think it was called Atkins diet. And it was a trend that went viral before viral was a word, and it was the early 2000s, I think. So everyone did it. Everyone said, oh, this is magnificent, this is just awesome, this will solve all our problems. But in the end it didn't, because there is a certain difference between what works for a majority and what works for all, and that is that there is nothing that works for everyone. So we need to really take a good hard look at ourselves, and we need to dig deep. We need to be self-empiric researchers. We need to go deeper than our body, while honoring the body, while celebrating if we're able to be present in our body again, and start experiencing the senses after being numbed and being and tolerated so much hatred directed at our own bodies, right? But at the same time, we shouldn't forget what this body makes us. The moment we die, our body isn't what carries on. Our body isn't what people, when they look at us, what made us, right? There's something within, and that something needs to be honored. And how this is honored is very different. While the majority of people think yoga is the thing, or meditation is the thing, or jogging is the thing, or journaling is the thing, or lucid dreaming is the thing, there is no thing. There is no thing that works for everyone. So dive deep. What works for you? What is it that makes your soul spark? What is it that makes you feel enthusiastic about life, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel like time goes by? And if you don't have anything yet, well, you're not alone. It wasn't like a few years back that I didn't have any hobbies. I wasn't interested in anything, and I thought I couldn't do anything, and I don't have any skills or talents whatsoever. Not saying that I have skills or talents now, but what I'm saying is that I was just curious. I just wanted to try out things, and so I did. And then out of that trial and error, I came to experience some of the hobbies that I have now. I've developed a curiosity to experience everything. And I just wanted to close this episode by saying that no matter where you are in your journey, the fifth power, the realm of the flesh, is, I feel like, almost a basic lesson to understand, is that you are not your body, you're not your brain, you're not your belief systems, you're not who you think you are, you're not the voice in your head. You are something that wants to be found. So please never give up on yourself, never give up on the search, and find that spark and have a balance to being in your body, being present in your body, experiencing the senses and the world through your body, but also take time to honor what makes you you, honor what sparks that light and that joy and that lightness and that beauty and that wonder that is you. Because we're here to learn, we're here to stay curious, we're here to change, and we're also here to just find out what this is all about. And I probably will not stand alone if I say we'll probably not find it out what it is about in life. We will find out on the next step, in the next chapter of that book of our souls. But this power is this fifth power, the realm of the flesh, I feel like is a basic thing to understand, is to find the balance between being in the body and experiencing the beauty that this body offers us to perceive this world through it, but then also oftentimes take a step back and ask yourself, well, what does my soul need though? Like, what can I do good? What can I do my soul good today? What good can I do for my soul today? What do you need? Maybe talk to her. Maybe develop a relationship between body and soul and talk to them separately. And if you do it out loud, make sure that you're not in public. And if you're in public, explain to people what you're doing. So maybe you pass on the message. But if you're at home or you talk in your head with yourself, be gentle, be kind. There is no rush. There is no need to think that you're missing out on something, or you're too late, or you can't keep up, or anything like that. That is an illusion. Everyone is exactly where they're meant to be, and you're just one decision away to dive deep and experience yourself fully and in a state of wholeness and from a perception of gratitude. And I feel like there's not much more I can add to that. I hope I did a good job bringing across what I wanted to say. And I do hope that this was some sort of service to you. I hope that you could take away something from this podcast episode. And with that said, I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it a lot that you tune in every week, that you listen to my thoughts and have this conversation of vulnerability, have create this space of vulnerability for all of us and for yourselves. And thank you very much for working on yourself and healing and integrating and becoming the version that you want to be, and realizing and manifesting the life you want to live. I thank you very much, and I send you from my heart to yours all the very best, and I salute you, my beloved fellow healing integrating onions. Thank you.